For those of you who have heard similar viewpoints espoused by similar people, let me tell you this. That kind of lethal ignorance, that kind of viewpoint that disparages black people, number one, that condescends and talks down to us, number two, that draws specious, spurious parallels between white racism and black racism. Racism.
Just wanted to look at your reaction. I wanted the audience to see how you're reacting behind the scenes there. How you holding up listening to Michael?
This guy's
Racism presupposes the ability to control a significant segment of the population economically, politically, and socially by imposing law, covenant, and restriction on their lives. Black people ain't had no capacity to do that. Can we be bigoted? Yes. Can we be...
My man said black people had no capacity to do any of the things he just mentioned.
So anyone more dishonest than this guy?
I think that I wanted to ask you a question, but I continuously want to see this man because I'm trying to understand primarily where he's coming from and why he thinks this way. But it's definitely off the premise of hatred. Like, I think he hates the fundamental roots of America. Right? Would that be fair?
Yeah, that would be fair. That's actually a fair assessment, yeah.
Prejudice? Yes. Racist? No. The unintelligence of the formulation is problematic when any black person says that. Number three, when black people began to spew this notion that 96% of black people are racist because we vote for a black candidate, suggests that all white people who vote for all white candidates are therefore also unavoidably racist. By that logic, everybody in the world is racist and it balances out, doesn't it? It makes no sense. It is illogical and irrational to its core. What?
Yeah, I had enough. How about you? How you feeling over there listening to that?
Well, what's the name of this video? This foolishness? What's wrong? What's
This
his point?
the name is Michael Eric Dyson shares why black people can't be racist backstage.
There we go.
Don't sleep.
There we go.
And this is all the justification as to why black people can't be racist. Just how he nuanced it. Like, I give him credit. Like, bro, like the way he was speaking about it, like like he was not even stuttering, bro. He didn't have to think about it. He's rehearsed this.
Oh yeah,
like this hatred is rehearsed, bro. Like, how does this help black people is my question that I wanted to ask.
I don't see one way that helps, but how does that help in general? I would even ask. Like, well, who are you helping here? What's your motive? Because when I see stuff like that, what are you trying to press in that the oppression we own oppression is that the goal here to let people know that as people of color, blacks, we own like we own oppression. I just want to let y'all know, don't mess with me, and I can't be racist. I'm oppressed.
There's like
I don't know, man.
this weird nuance that says no, the oppressed can never be the oppressor. As if history doesn't have a cycle of changes in power or paradigm or anything of that nature. It's like it's always saying that we will always be the victim, therefore we are free to conduct ourselves in whatever way, right? I have
Yeah,
some more of that video, but let me roll this intro here. Hello and welcome to another episode of Drinks with the Nobody. I'm Macho, that's Savory, and you're watching us on Nobody TV. Welcome. We have been doing this now consistently for more than 3 months, and this has been, in my opinion, a success. If I got one person watching that I don't know, never met, have no influence over, I got you watching. Well, welcome. Thank you. This is a
course.
real testament to the hard work that we've been putting in. I don't really care if it's 100 people, 1,000 people, or just one person. The point of the matter is our job is what we want to do is to reach out to you, is to talk about some of these things, especially when it comes to race and minorities or how we are depicted and where's our status in society. Should we even
Yeah.
have one? Should there be one? All these questions we want to evaluate right here on Drinks with a Nobody. Savory, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking a lemonade. Simple. Simplicity, it's not always one of my
Absolutely
strong
rare.
traits, but
Absolutely
hey,
rare
here
for
we
you to
are.
drink. I'm drinking. We went and different with La Colombe here in New York City. They have like a nice little
Okay, okay.
fancy schmancy spot. It's like really bougie. So I
The
bought
coffee, yeah.
their whole roasted thing, and then we grinded it here in the house, so it's
Okay,
fresh.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It's good, it's
I
good,
see
it's
your
good.
eyes.
Been
I
treating you
see
well?
your eyes opening up. You're curious. I see like
Been
you're like
treating
you
you
want
well?
to try it. Of course, it's been dream. Would you drink your coffee black? Just curious.
Yeah. I don't usually do it, but I would if it tastes good, yeah.
Okay, you would drink this black. That's how good it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not
trying to.
overhyping it. I'm not trying to oversell it. You would drink this coffee black, and there's no racism in that. Okay, just so you know.
Ooh, my man's throwing the racist card right
Michigan, what
now.
up? How you doing? What are you drinking today? All the folks watching, what are you drinking today? Throw that in the chat. Curious. And thanks for having a drink with us. So
Word.
continuing on,
Brandon in the
Brandon
house. What up,
Brandon
Brandon?
loves black coffee. At least somebody
Hey,
in the chat loves freaking black coffee. I love black coffee. I don't want no sugar. Don't give me no milk. Give it
no
to me
milk, no
straight.
sugar.
Give it to me straight, right? I want the caffeine right out of
But
my
it's some
comatose mug.
coffee you
You know what I
can't
mean?
drink black, right?
Excuse you?
You could drink any coffee black.
Absolutely.
Only good coffee is supposed to be
I
drunk
think we need
black,
to
as they
have
say.
this conversation real quick just to add it. That question in and of itself
Bro,
is
if it's bad
biased.
coffee, you need milk, bro. You need to make it
Excuse
light, more palatable.
what
Hey, that's
constitutes as bad
racist.
coffee? What constitutes as bad coffee?
It's coffee. Not every coffee tastes the same, bro. You have cafe, cafe bustelo, and then your Colombian. It's
What is
different.
that? What is Bustelo? That is
Coffee.
a different strand. That's espresso. It's coffee,
Cafe
but it's an
bustelo.
espresso. An espresso. Like you don't drink that with milk, but we've been doing this for years as Hispanics. We've been doing this wrong, brother.
My man took it to history lane. My man is saying
Well, I mean,
My man said,
you
let me
know,
tell you the different strands of where they come from and the origins of the actual coffee. The black coffee was actually originated only in black form.
don't
The
even
light
start with
coffee,
me. Don't
Eric
even,
Dyson
don't
right
even
here.
do that.
It's
Don't even
Eric
do.
Dyson right here. I
Don't,
dare you.
don't
Before we
even
put
do.
Let's finish Eric Dyson. Let's see how good of a job I do right here. This is Eric Dyson right here. All right.
Well,
Let me let you
he's the
know that.
topic of Mind Your Business. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. So let's do this right beforehand, and we'll do the transition straight to Eric Dyson. All right, right here. This is black coffee against light coffee. The actual historical proposition of the ground and the beef of the actual coffee actually came from not the meticulation of the actual farmers working without a wage, but the coffee was actually as potent and as good as it gets. So I dare you add that white milk and try to portray the coffee as a lighter skin, a lighter tone than it actually is. With that said, let's go into Eric
With
Dyson's
that
like
one
show.
drop rule in existence of the one time slave owner who used to abuse the slave in and of itself by taking it to his shed and fornicating with the slave and then making I can't even do it. I can't even
All
do
right,
it.
let's play my man's.
What we see when we hear these kinds of comments are lethal self-hatred, the denial of the humanity to black people that we see reflected in the dominant white society, refracted through the prism of our own black lives. Unmolested by enlightenment, such people are peripatetic, that is, walking around virtuous,
This
not
guy,
in
man.
terms of their virtue, but virtuous, virtual expressions of degraded self-hatred. I feel sorry. I feel horrible when I'm in the presence of such mean-speaking, ignorance-spewing, incredibly cantankerous viewpoints that don't honor the
Yo,
integrity.
I don't even know
get
what
this man out of my
cantankerous.
face.
I don't even know what
Get this, yeah.
cantankerous means. What does that mean?
We gotta look that
Like
up
you're
because my
throwing a
man.
lot of big words at me, Mike, and I just don't understand. Like I do too. Like I throw a lot of big words at Savory sometimes because I see it in a book and I'm constantly reading stuff and I see it and I look it up and I go, oh yeah, that's a great word, a great way to convey my idea. But then I'm speaking to Savory and Savory's like, wait, I don't understand what the heck you're talking about there. I'm like, oh my bad, my bad, my bad. This is no. I'm not shitting on Savory's intelligence. It's just sometimes you can get so heady where
Yeah,
you're
some
losing your
it's
audience.
the art is in simplifying what you want to get across at times, right? Like for
Right.
example, it's like one of the arts for those for pastors, right? The pastor would tell you that it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of skill to get down to that 30-minute sermon where you're communicating an effective message. Because
Wait, no,
anybody can explain a message in an hour and a
you
half.
have to be able to explain your things that are going on in here to a 3-year-old. You can't do that, then it's worthless. It ain't
Exactly.
worth a grain of
Exactly.
salt. By the way, I was laughing, Savory, because Brandon said, "No milk, take it like a man." I'm thinking about this dude on TikTok who does like be a man. There's this whole series about be a man. Just type in be a man on TikTok, and this dude and his son just like puts
Yeah,
his
man.
dad up there, and he keeps saying like, "Don't go to the bathroom and take a dump with the door closed. Take a dump with the door open. Be a man." And they just dying laughing. But yeah, Michigan, I like my coffee. I would drink Irish coffee. I would like it. Yeah, absolutely. I
Well,
would
you know
drink it
you would
black
like it.
as
You
well.
never had it. You never had it,
Irish
bro.
coffee? I'll drink it. I love coffee.
You gotta,
That's how
you
much
might not
I'm
like it,
willing to
man.
trust this man. I love coffee. I will drink it straight up. Until
That's fair. That's
if it's
fair.
crap, then I don't want to drink it. Anyways, anyone in favor to vote Michael Dyson to mind his business or not?
Bro,
Yay or nay?
don't even ask me. Don't even ask me. Don't ask me.
Why do you want him to mind his business? Saver, I already know already.
This man moves. I can show you right now, right? If we had the time right now, I can show the people 10 plus videos of him with the same rhetoric, with the same goal of elevating the status of oppression and then ignoring the realities of today's world, right? So he takes these big words, these big kind of ideas, and just talks a whole bunch of nonsense.
Just remember, you can't drink after you. Oh
Oh,
yeah. Irish
can't drive
coffee is
after you drink Irish.
when you throw the JMO in there. The JMO, that's what Irish
Oh,
coffee is. You throw the JMO in there
okay. That's
with a
the
little
Jameson in
Baileys.
there.
You get a little Baileys in there, and hey, it's good. Say you will love it. Actually, you would actually love that.
Well, I had
I'll
Jameson,
put
but yeah,
Jameson and some coffee with a little Baileys. Yeah, you would love that.
with
Stop
some
it.
Baileys.
With some Baileys, yeah. Anyways, why is it that he doesn't give America any credit? Whenever I hear before I give my vote, I never hear Michael Eric Dyson give America any credit for the rhetoric he spews.
He got too
He
many
doesn't
books.
realize how free he is. The free
Yeah,
to
he got too
even
many
just
books, bro.
to raise the indictments, to raise these concerns, to raise these kind of ideologies. It literally is an ideology, not an ideology, an ideology that you can just literally spew it out to society, raising like literally angry men who hate America. And you're free to do that. You're literally
Mhm.
free in this country. So why don't you give America the credit? And is America really oppressing you if you're able to speak that way? I don't
No,
think they realize that.
he no, he realizes he's not. He knows America's not oppressing him, but he's a professional race hustler, right? So he's good at this, which means all his content from teaching and the books he's written have one coordinated agenda, which is to push the race narrative. So no matter what law gets passed, no matter how many black successful people are in the country, he's always going to push that because again, too much at stake, right? He already wrote 20 plus books on it. He's teaching, so he will never defer from that point of view. Too much at
I've
stake.
been
Yeah.
I've been saying this, and I've been taking a series on Black oppression myths on TikToks
Hmm.
because I think it's really important that we start laying the foundation for where people are misinterpreting some of the current narratives, right, for the last 20 or so years. And we always get lost in the history of America rather than the current right now, the reality of America.
Hmm.
And people like Michael Eric Dyson, which is why I vote for him to mind his business, is because he's causing such a severe strain on society for young black men. He is not helping Black America. He is hurting them. He thinks he's
Facts.
empowering young black men. He's hurting them. If you want to sit at the big boys table where they're all different types of people, all these different types of CEOs, then you can't come in there speaking that way,
Yeah.
right? You got to come. You got to come correct. Am I
But
on
he's not.
something here?
But again, the hypocrisy is this, right? He doesn't live like that. Why? Because I bet he got great relationships with tons of white people helping him in this country. I bet he's taking advantage of the same system he's telling you is not for you. He has books out here. He's a university professor. He's a pastor. You know what I'm saying? So the same system, which is why I refuse to believe that they actually believe what they preach, right? They
Yeah,
believe that
and
the oppression
Jesus.
happened, but they don't believe it's holding us back to that extent. They just race hustling.
I don't even know how you could even be a pastor with that kind of rhetoric. Like, where is the salvation of Jesus in your speaking? It sounds like you hate life or you blame somebody for the position that you're in, not realizing that we are not in where we are for no reason, right? Fear not of your trespasses. We are here because we are ordained or predestined to go through this road in light of our relationship with Jesus. So I don't
Yeah.
hear any of that rhetoric with him. I hear the rhetoric of passing the blame or in superiority. Anytime I hear someone saying you're
BLM
ignorant,
gospel.
yeah, your BLM gospel. Oh my God, this guy's on a
I've
roll
heard it
today.
tons of times. I'm telling you, I've heard
What
it tons of
what are you
times, man.
drinking? What did you
It
put in your lemonade?
transforms. Just lemonade, man.
No, no,
But
no. There's
that's the
something else in
it,
there.
I bet all his sermons, I'll say this last thing on it, all his sermons have a crutch and a foundation on racism, right? Might not be BLM, but
Has to
on
be.
racism, right?
Has to
Because
be.
that's the main ideology, right? That he talks about. So yeah.
Great stuff. And here we have a video here of the whole idea of blacks can't be racist. Now, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
This
What's
rhetoric
this guy's name
wasn't,
again?
I don't remember his name
Yeah.
exactly, but I guess we'll find
I
out here.
remember
But
him
I know
though.
he's an
Yeah.
actor. I know he's an actor.
Yeah.
And they asked him the question, like, you're a racist. They said something about how he's a racist. And he explains how he cannot be a racist. And again, this didn't start here. This actually took wind, like I'm saying, like fire in 2014, and we're gonna get to that. Let's play this video.
It was mentioned to Mr. Mooney that
Mooney.
apparently some people think that he's a racist.
That I'm racist? Well, that's very funny. I can't be racist by definition. Look that up in the white folks dictionary. How can I be racist? I've never told.
First off, look it up in the white folks dictionary. Just
Yeah.
how
Yo,
can you
bro,
trust
are
somebody
you
who
taking me
talks
through
like
a
that?
Comedy Central today, bro, with these videos? These
How
people,
can you
man.
how can you talk like that? Honestly, that is disgusting. That is absolutely
man.
absurd. Look it
These
up in the
people are truly
white folks
crazy.
dictionary. This makes me see the Black
Oh,
Panther
man.
Party dripping all over your tongue. You have no individualism. What you're looking at here with two liberty-loving Latinos is me and Savory have individualism. Me and Savory don't always agree on things. But you know what?
Facts.
We agree that we're free. And we don't have to denigrate or blame somebody else for our transgressions.
People are
Come
truly
on now.
Told anyone where to live. I've never told anyone what kind of jobs to have. I've never kept anyone from going to a school or out of a restaurant or drinking from a fountain. I've never lynched anybody. So how can I be racist? How can I be racist?
That's
by
not the
definition,
definition.
I can't be racist.
That's not the definition.
I can't be, by definition. Look up the definition of racism.
Since there are multiple dictionary definitions for the term
I love that they did this, by the way. I love how they pulled up the board here, the pinup board, and they're gonna put multiple definitions of what racism is. So people who are following, you're gonna see the definitions. And we don't have to look it up because a lot of it is I looked it up and you could look it up for yourself, actually. I shouldn't say you don't have to. I'm saying for the sake of watching us, you can sit here tight. We got everything here. But after this show, do your research, look it up, and you'll see.
racism, let's try to cover all bases. One definition, simply enough, states that it's the belief that some races of people are better than others. Another, rather simple definition is race-based prejudice or discrimination, which relates to the definition poor treatment of or violence against people because of their race. A more interesting definition is a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits.
I want to highlight something here. Poor treatment of violence against people because of their race. Does anyone know how, aside from whites, if we took whites off the table, blacks are already guilty of this because they have committed heinous acts towards who? It's been widely spread, but it's not even talked about in the mainstream.
Asians?
And that is the Asian. Yeah. They are attacking them severely, like robbing them, beating them down, doing all types of things. So they had to stop the whole stop Asian hate rhetoric. That movement. Why? Because it would criminalize blacks in the media. That's not whites doing it. You guys are doing that, right? So that I want to highlight there. You're already guilty of racism there, but you're going to overlook that, Eric Dyson.
But perhaps the most popular definition is the hatred or intolerance of another race or races, which is to say, hate based on race. There's nothing to suggest that these definitions do not apply universally, so either Mr. Mooney is mistaken or we're missing something. Or both, so just for the sake of argument, let's get a second opinion. Another version of this argument can be found in the 2004.
Before we get there, I want to just highlight some of the things that were there. So just based on what we saw, by definition, can black people be racist?
By definition, every human being can be racist, regardless
Absolutely.
of race,
Great
creed,
answer.
and where you come from. Yeah,
And
by
that's what
definition.
we lose sight of that, and we'll denigrate it. And here's what tend to happen. I have another video clip here of a person who, I'm trying to find it here. I don't know where I actually put it. I don't know if I misplaced it. But anyways, as I'm looking for that, there's a video here of a person who makes this weird analogy or discredits the definition and goes to a different explanation. But I want to ask you this question as I'm looking for the video. why are black people or minorities avoiding or not dealing with the confrontation that they can be racist?
Well, after these years of pushing a certain ideology through our mainstream media, through our universities, and drilling in that the narrative of racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reality that you can possibly be racist is relinquishing of power. Right? So you don't, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I
Ooh,
look at it, right? So
what
for
kind of
to
power?
it to admit that you could be racist will take away the power of your oppression, right? Because there's a certain power in oppression, which means, right, I'm oppressed, so which means I deserve this right. I'm oppressed, which means you can't speak to me like this. I'm oppressed, which means we have to conduct ourselves this way, and you are more accountable than me. I'm not the racist one. You have the right to hold someone more accountable than yourself in certain terms, and like in the court of law, right? Somebody is more accountable because of who they are and what they've done. Right. So if somebody
Right.
is in front of you as racist, you have the right to say, nah, man, that's you can't come in, that's racist, you know. But hey, I can't be racist, so you can never do that to me. So yeah, I think
Correct.
it's power, man. Yeah, that's how I would
Yeah.
describe it.
Yeah, there was an actress from this movie or show. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a comedy of just to kind of like make light of some of the tensions or the racial tensions in society. And we're gonna dive into that right now. But this actress explains why black people cannot be racist. Why? Because in
Mm,
Dear White People, that was aired in 2014, a principal goes up to the character and says, "Hey, your radio show that you're hosting on campus is racist." And she then goes off and spews off and says, "Black people cannot be racist." And that was I mean, listen, it's
that's crazy.
fictional, but it
That's crazy.
but people started taking that as real and saying,
Well, well,
"Well,
well,
yeah,
well, well,
we
I would
can't."
say they wanted to communicate the reality of that through the show, right? Remember, the people pushing these narratives own, or like what I always tell you, they own Hollywood and these narratives. So they are
Right. Right.
obviously pushing that purposely, you know. But yeah, let's get into that.
And here's that actress. We don't have a video, but this is just the audio version. And here's what she had to say on Breakfast Club.
But I mean, the word is never really going to truly be a term of endearment.
Right.
It's just not.
Well, they're talking
Oh,
about right there, just a term of endearment is the N word, right? She said that, oh, we should be able to use the word N word because we turned a hateful word into a term of endearment with one another. And that is what it is. Charlemagne the God actually disagreed with her and said it's never going to be a term of endearment. I've been trying to absolve myself of using that word
Mhm.
because it's not really a term of endearment, right?
Yeah.
So
okay. And here's what they had to say about racism and whether or not black people can be racist.
Black people can't be racist. Black people can be prejudiced. They can be biased, but they can't be racist. And why is that?
Tell me.
Well, what is racism? Racism is the oppression of a marginalized
power.
group in a society that's based on white supremacy.
But the thing is, racism, like you said, it's systemic. It's baked into our society.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't oppressed. I'm sorry. When it comes to racism, there really is no double standard.
There is.
So because they're not oppressed, meaning white, since they're not oppressed, then black people cannot be racist towards them. Again, what year are we talking about? Are we
Yeah.
in
What are
the
what are
Jim
we
Crow
talking
South?
about in general? What are we talking about here?
Wait, so like even in the Jim Crow South, so you can't be racist towards white people? What about
So
like
these
during the
people
time? Like I'm just trying to get an understanding here. If we look at it by definition, how can we not be racist towards another person?
this
By
is crazy to
definition.
believe that, you know.
Yeah,
What a way to live your
again,
life.
this is young people evolving today with this ideology, and they're going to school for years. I'm talking about a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Savory, which I won't name. She's an actress, has a very close friend who she got multiple degrees, and she's still spewing this rhetoric. She's a PhD holder. She's going into constitutional law. Okay. These people get into the high ranks of society and they're going to change or transform as CRT is pushing out this rhetoric.
Hmm.
And look,
They're pushing that forward, exactly.
if you want to reform things, reform it on an honest premise. Don't do it on a hatred premise. That's what I'm talking about.
It's no double standard.
I agree with that because the prejudice and the bias that black people would show towards white people is usually a reaction
A
to
reaction.
the racism that has been
Racism
shown
is
to us.
oppression.
Yes.
A reaction of when? That's the question that I don't understand. What are you talking about? The racism that's shown to
Yeah,
us.
because it's so surface. You know, they run with one quick line or quick one punch line, and then they
Very
just run with it. You
surface.
know, so you can't
Very
do this.
good point. And here's the attempt to explain it in a more sophisticated fashion. This woman here on MTV has her own show. I'm not sure if she's an actress. I think she is, and somebody in the audience can tell me if she's an actress, but she talks about how black people can't be racist.
For you. Try talking about racism with your friends, family, or coworkers, and get ready to watch people squirm. So let's push through the discomfort.
Yeah, her name is Francesca Ramsey. Anyone in the audience is familiar with her? Let us know where
Francesca.
she's from. But she's
Hola,
she's
Francesca.
shooting this from MTV Decoded or something like that. And here's
She's
her
Dominican.
point of view as to why she is
I don't know, but it's that name though.
Francesca. Okay.
Don't worry, you can do it. We're gonna talk about racism.
Well, the dictionary defines racism as the hatred or intolerance of another race or races.
Well, yes, but racism's a little more complicated than that. The dictionary offers a very simple explanation, because it's just the dictionary. If you want to understand racism, you need to talk sociology. And sociology explains racism as a combination of prejudice.
All right, here we go. So let's take away, this is why we can remove the definition, the actual hard definition in the dictionary. And now let's go to sociology. Sociology, which is the study of people and human behavior in certain institutional places, right?
Which have tremendously influential people in the liberal arts space and the liberal political space, you know. So
Oh yeah, this is a very liberal practice. It's very far left, in my opinion. It's a far left education, sociology. There's just no way
Crazy.
around it, right? You're not going to find a lot of conservatives taking on this study. Just saying, just putting it out there. Racism equals prejudice, and the last part equals what?
And
Equals what?
power. Well, isn't that just
okay.
convenient?
Power.
Let's just ignore what the dictionary says. No, we're not ignoring the dictionary, just going a little deeper. Think of it this way.
We're not
No,
ignoring the
no.
dictionary.
No, you're not going deeper.
We're
you're
going
making your own
deeper. No,
reality.
you're deviating. You're not going deeper. You're deviating. You're literally seeing the fork in the road, and you're saying, "I'm not taking that either. I'm going hard left." You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
This way. If your car breaks down, you don't look up car in the dictionary to try and fix it, you go to a mechanic. So when it comes to getting the nitty-gritty of understanding how racism works, I say we should probably defer to sociologists, because they study.
If the car breaks down, you don't go to the dictionary to solve the problem. You go to a mechanic. So she's equating the definition of racism as going to the mechanic because what? The system is broken. Do you get it? By equating the two ideologies there, or the two examples, she's conflating that, hey, because the system is broken, this is how we could identify this and look deeper. It's very nuanced. It's very charming, but I'm telling y'all, it's very perverted.
How people, organizations,
road.
and institutions work, it's kind of their job. So here are 5 things everyone should understand about racism.
This should be interesting.
Talking about racism is so exhausting. It's like no matter what I do or what I say, someone's gonna call me a racist. Good people can unintentionally say and do racist things.
Here we are.
But not blacks. No, not blacks.
Here we are.
Right.
That's where again, this is how it gets nuanced into society.
But not people of color.
But not people. They're exempt.
Yeah.
They could only be
okay.
prejudiced.
I just want to make sure
They're
I'm
exempt.
understanding where she's going. Oh,
They're
got it.
exempt from this. And look at
Not
how
only
it's-
is the definition different, but there's exceptions to the different definition that excludes a group. Cool. All right.
Which is
That makes
racist.
sense.
Which is
That's
racist.
That's crazy. That's racist. I just noticed that too. That's racist.
Oh my Lord. Look at how it's infiltrating our media, right? With Meghan Markle married into the royal family. She's a mulatto, or I guess you can't even say that either, right? I guess that's a derogatory term, but she's half black, half white. You know, what in the old days they'll call her a one dropper. You know what I'm saying? That's what they call me.
Criticize Meghan Markle, CNN says. You must be racist.
People here on the right continue to savage Markle and her story. Something struck a nerve with them. Was it a multiracial woman speaking out against an institutional white royal family?
Bro,
I don't even know what to say. You know how many royal families exist in this world that are not white?
A lot to go to the Middle East area, go to Saudi Arabia.
They're not white, and you're not going to infiltrate it. It's not by election.
Man.
You don't attain this royalhood by election. This is not a democracy.
I'm going to proceed with a comedic attitude now. Okay, so just know.
No, it's not about that. Well, then what is it about?
What is it about then? Chris should know. I mean, he is black on the inside.
You know I'm black on the inside.
That's racist. But it gets excused. It gets excused because of what?
So the man is where he leans.
Actually,
all
it
that.
would be more not necessarily racist. It's more of a microaggression as they would define it today. I don't care about it. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
But this
But he gets away with that because of politics too. This is where it's
exactly.
been politicized.
So if we had a white conservative, if Greg Gutfeld said that, this hypersensitivity would be reversed towards it's political. It has nothing to do with it actual meaning. It's all politicized. So my question is, does it really exist?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, blacks are so grateful to have him. But hey, racism is basically the only thing left that Chris is allowed to talk about on CNN. So we finally reached the RASP, the racism accusation saturation point, where every activity, belief, or opinion can be traced back to racism. Me just pointing this out makes me racist. You hearing me say that makes you racist. And if you deny it, that's proof of racism too. Unless, of course, you work for CNN or MSNBC and become the accuser to enable your own vile commentary. Over at MSNBC, Joy Reid can freely indulge repulsive rhetoric, smearing millions of Americans by tweeting that conservatives would trade tax cuts to openly say the N-word.
Let's expound on that a bit real quick. This
People
is
on
a
the right
person
would
who is
trade-
highly educated. Joy Ann Reid is highly educated. She's not stupid. She went to school with some of the most whitest people in America. Okay? And this is what you're saying. This is what you want to say. How does this help black people? They
No
would
way it
trade
does.
tax cuts to the ability to openly say the N-word. Who thinks like that? You really think white people think this way, Savory?
Man, this is so crazy. Just looking at this tweet up here. Code switching, mask wearing, all the other hoops that black people have to go through to appease enough of the majority to even get into law school isn't the issue. But censoring yourself from saying the N-word amongst friends. And then her response, I'll say it again. People on the right would trade all the tax cuts for the ability to openly say the N-word, like in the good old days. To them, not being able to be openly racist and discriminatory without consequences of oppression. What? Trump is an avatar for this freedom. I just had to read that because it was so like, wow. That's what she was responding to.
I heard this the other day. What is code switching?
Code switching is if we're in the same room, right? Now if we're in the same room, let's say corporate. Let's use a corporate example. I work in corporate, and it's mostly white people. I need to code switch and act like, I'm wearing my suit. I need to talk properly. I need to make sure everything's aligned. That's code switch. And then when I go with you, yo, what's good, homie? What up? You know what I'm saying?
What's going on, baby?
Yeah, you're not going to say that code because you code switching because the environment is not for you. It's a racist environment. So you're code switching because the racism
So white
persists.
people don't do this? Do white people do this? Yes or no?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would say do that. Yeah.
White people would
Yeah.
fit in this criteria, right? Because
Yeah,
I
they code
have white
switch.
friends. When they're in the working environment, they don't speak the same way. But when they're outside of it and then we're hanging out, they're like, "Yo, what's good? What's
Again,
going
back
on?"
to not racism, but the what we don't want to talk about. It's a cultural issue. Why does that? And why does nobody want to talk about it? It's culture. It's a culture issue.
We don't go into the workplace to decide how the workplace should be organized. We work for them. They don't work for us. This again becomes the Nat Turner issue. If anyone is familiar with Nat Turner, he was a rebellion, right? He led the rebellion against slavery. I think it was in the South. I think it was in Virginia or one of those areas in colonial America, where he rose up with 100 plus slaves to fight against the majority, right? There is still that inner warrior in blacks today, in Black America today, where they feel like they have to rise up and fight against the oppressor. There is no situation that is surrounding us by that. You don't need a Nat Turner to rise up today, guys. Put away your swords. You're free. You can leave your sword in your house and protect your house. You don't need to bring it out to society and into the workplace and say, "This is how I want my check paid. This is how I should be." No, you don't decide. You don't dictate policy. You can negotiate, but you don't dictate policy in the workplace. Period.
Would that include her coworker Nicole Wallace? How else does Joy get her facts on this stuff? I mean, that's the only conservative she knows, right? Then there's her smear of Tim Scott.
This is disgusting.
Gotta love the Tim Scott standing there to provide the patina of diversity over that round of words, that basket full of words.
That's a stupid comment, for it can be applied to its user.
And it's a racial comment, by the way. But because she's saying it towards a black person, she's absolved of that. But let a white person on her end of the aisle say that to a black person on the other end of the aisle. And what is the argument? What is the argument? A lot of like left-leaning political people would say, "Well, Tim Scott's the only black senator for Republicans." What are you saying? What does that mean? What does that reflect to you, Savory? That Tim Scott's the only black senator in the GOP. What would that reflect to you? Is that the party of racism? Is that what that means?
That's what that means. I don't interpret that. I don't. You can assert from
curious.
that. Yes.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
definitely not that. It's nothing conclusive. It tells me it's just, hey, like, you know, more people of color and blacks vote Democrat. Now we got to dig deeper if we want to do honest assessment of why, the details of it. You can't just say, hey, there's 4 black people on the first floor. That means the first floor is inclusive. Like, all right, let's dig a little deeper. I don't know. It's these shorthanded arguments, man, and debates are insane to me, man.
Yeah, and I think it becomes because a lot of young black people are just angry. They're upset at the circumstances in which they're dealt. They don't know how to rise up. They don't have that grit. And the argument that I've heard before is because a lot of old school guys don't have the empathy. And let me explain what I'm saying here. I'm going to do it via video, and I want everyone to see how this was portrayed right there on screen. What I just said, I want people to see how it was portrayed on screen. What you're about to see is Savory's favorite person, Coates, up against Shelby Steele. And Shelby Steele handled this as a gentleman. Yes, like a gentleman. He literally just sat there quietly as I don't even know how to say Tanishi Coates. Tanishi Coates. He's literally spewing at the mouth about how he went to school in Baltimore, how he was dealing with the effects of redlining, how he was dealing with all these things. And simply Shelby said quietly, "It sounds like you're portraying this message of when I went to school, and you don't realize that it was worse for me. You don't even realize it." And here's how he handled it as a gentleman.
Of course, I was in the days of segregation. And
wait, hold up, wait.
What happened?
What did Tanish Coates say? What did Tanish Coates say?
Well, he's saying that
I want to hear that part.
I just explained it. That he was saying that, oh, I grew up in West Baltimore where it was
Yeah, but I wanted to
the
hear him
effects of
say it to see
redlining.
the tension in the room there.
Oh, okay. Let me
If that's
rewind it
okay
then.
with you, yeah, please, because
Savior wants to see it. Savior wants to see it. Okay.
thank you, sir. I want to see this. All right.
There's also
Good.
some commentary because the person who made this video does not like Shelby Steele. So there's going to be some commentary in between that.
5 cents in wealth that African Americans have, white families have $1 in wealth. There's a 20-to-1 gap. That gap didn't get there by magic. That gap is the result of housing policy that we had in this country, a long policy of taking wealth out of African American communities and putting them elsewhere. And it has real consequences.
Seeing the fact that this young man here is yelling over the Shelby Steele would have never happened in the Jim Crow days. You would have never seen that. I want people to pay attention to how even Malcolm X and Martin Luther King used to debate. They never yelled over each other. You don't do that back in those days. That was seen as improper for them, not for white people, for them.
Yeah,
intersexually, how they would communicate with each other. There was an ethics. This young man has no respect for his adult in the room. He doesn't even want to listen to someone who went through Jim Crow, who lived it. And
Yeah, he don't seem too worked up right now. He gets more worked up.
No, he is, but that's his worked up. That's Tanashi Coates worked up right there.
Consequences. I grew up in a neighborhood in West Baltimore where every day I went to school and at least a third of my brain was occupied with the safety of my body. That's a result of that community being rendered in a certain way for a long time in our history. And so just leaving it alone sort of casts young black boys and young black girls who are going to schools like I went to as a child and just says, hey, go out there and cope. That's untenable to me.
I went to those kind of schools too. Worse.
And obviously the person's going to commentate here in between here, but I'm going to keep playing that to show the response. He said, I went to those kind of schools too. You see, this is what I like about the honesty of black conservatives, because they don't hide. They're not lying about America's past. And Shelby Steele is not the one who's going to hide that from you. He's not going to lie and over sugarcoat it. He's simply going to tell you, I overcame it. Look at me.
Came to a different conclusion. Yeah.
I have multiple degrees. I am rich. I own an editor. I edit a certain newspaper. I have ownership to that. I am rich. And so are you. He's pretty much calling him out. Tanashi, you're rich too. I don't know why you're spewing this rhetoric. You get what I'm saying? And here's more of that, what he was saying there. And obviously the commentation because they don't like Shelby here.
Of course, I was in the days of segregation, and again, there's this sort of compounding effect where I call it characterological racism, where we see racism as you do, I think, as immobile, immovable. And the result of that again is more dependency.
I see it as totally movable. I see it totally movable.
And the point is that it ain't gonna move. It is what it is, and it's not gonna change. It's not gonna go away. We need to get about the business of making our own lives as best we can. And it's about as.
And it don't get no better than that, in my opinion. It don't get no better than that. A older man speaking to a younger man. Forget about who he is. Forget about who these two are. This is what we want in our community for older black men to speak to younger black men and literally saying, the world is unfair. You ever heard that? Life's not fair. Life's not fair. You're in the business of trying to move something that's immovable because why? It'll make you more money. That's really what you're doing. Just call it what it is. It's okay. It'll make you more money because it's an unmovable feat. And you're going to be in that business every time, and people are going to support you. Why? Because of white guilt. People want to absolve themselves of that. And this is perfect that these two were in the same table because why? I want to see how a young man like Tanashi Coates sits down and listens. Did he do a lot of listening? Honestly, you guys can check that out for yourself,
Yeah, I gotta go watch
and
that
see.
myself.
He did not do a lot of listening. He did a lot of pushing back against someone who's lived through oppression, who's lived through racism, who's lived through all of that, and still today comes out and looks at a young man, probably half his age, probably even less than that, says to him, you made it, we make it. You gotta overcome that. We gotta be about the business of living our lives as free men, not boys, as men. So again, there's a lot more to Shelby Steele and how he speaks about the whole systemic racism ideology here and how we need to absolve ourselves of these things. And he talked about the white guilt in this interview with Mark Levin. He does this over a course a couple of times, so bear with me, guys, as we show this video here.
Columnist, you've done documentary films, you're a senior fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institution. You specialize in the study of race relation, multiculturalism, affirmative action. You hold a PhD in English from the University of Utah, an MA in sociology from Southern Illinois University, a BA in political science from Coe College, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
I wanted this to play, Savory, not because I want to tout his jacket here, but I want people to understand that the people we listen to, me and you and I, are not idiots. Just like liberals who are left-leaning, especially in the black leaders, the black leadership group. They're not idiots either, but they have a posture that is perverted. And when I hear these guys here, they're a little bit more honest and more forthcoming. And that's why I wanted to play that.
Your latest book it's a great book too, is Shame: How America's Past Sins Have Polarized Our Country.
White guilt is the terror of being seen as a racist, as a bigot, that now pervades American life. All our social policy, our culture, everything is touched by this anxiety in most of white America, understandably, given America's history, that they're vulnerable. They have this vulnerability to being disarmed of moral authority by being called a racist. I can use it as a weapon. I can say, I went on the Levin show.
See, this is what you were talking about, Savory. You were saying that if they say that we are also guilty as racist, then we lose that weapon. We revert backwards. We don't have no more entitlement.
Exactly.
You were right.
Exactly.
You were spot on with that.
Let me tell you the way I was treated. And it explodes. So it constitutes, that is black power. White guilt is black power. They're virtually.
Just want to highlight that again. He says white guilt is black power. See, you're building your power off white guilt. Us as True Liberty Latinos, I don't build my privilege off that, because that is a false. That floor is so shallow that you literally, it's like walking on. With hearing that, it's like walking on the ice in a lake that now when it froze overnight and became ice, and it's not. There's some areas in that ice that is not going to hold you. You're going to fall right through. That's the depiction that I get with white guilt being black power.
Yeah.
That's exactly the imagery that I get. It's not going to hold you. You're going to fall right through and you're going to freeze to death.
Actually one and the same. And one of the big problems we have is that you talk about universities and political correctness and so forth. These are all ways in which white Americans say, I'm innocent. I don't feel this way. I'm not a bigot. I'm not a racist. I'm innocent. And white guilt causes this drive to prove and establish innocence. And so then we have a whole generation of black leaders who do one thing and one thing only: milk white guilt.
Could the culture be turning? But the elite.
Just want to highlight that there again is that you have rised up a lot of black leaders who see this as a
Business. It's
money
a business.
opportunity and says, bam, I'm going to milk this. This is great. You signed that bill, boom, this created a generation upon generation of rich black millionaires who can just continuously call America racist. This is great. This is an awesome opportunity. This whole movement created David Bell and the CRT movement. This movement created the Al Sharptons, the Jesse Jacksons, the what was this guy's name? Not William F. Buckley, James Baldwin's. It created it gave these people a superiority, gave them a status in society. That's what he's saying there. It's not. It's off a false prevalence. It's
Yeah.
off a thin veneer of ice.
It's digging in.
That's well said.
Because more and more when I watch these debates on television and so forth, people very easily, almost casually, call people they disagree with racists. If they disagree with a political agenda, if they disagree with a particular issue, and most of that's coming from the left.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Well, it's white guilt is
And this is the last portion that I want to play for the night because this is really important. This is absolutely important, and this is why me and Savory, I know 100% you're going to agree with what's about to be played. Savory hasn't seen this, but it is really, really important that we grasp this understanding. Instead of just blaming the other party, I want you to see how they use this as a political warfare. And that's why I don't believe racism exists in America as it was before. I don't think it exists. I think it's just weaponized, period.
It just is meant to disarm you of moral authority. It's when they scream racism all the time, they're saying you're a racist. You don't have the moral authority to deal with whatever issue or problem we're dealing with. Because you're a racist, and so therefore you are morally compromised, and your moral authority, you don't have any moral authority, and this is the seduction that people on the left have fallen for, because whites are still so vulnerable to that charge of being a racist. That is the power, the entire. All of the power of the American left is based on that guilt, that susceptibility, that terror of being seen as racist. Not to introduce the presidential campaign.
And that's he goes on and on here, and he explains it very well. I advise people to watch that rest of that interview because he talks about how it becomes weaponized, and even how Hillary Clinton got a hold of it and used it and called who? She called Trump supporters deplorables. By also labeling him a racist, a misogynist, because we're hoping that trickles down to the voter. We're hoping that we can alienate each other and cause that polarization. They say, hey, Trump started this. No, they've been doing this for years back and forth. They've been saying, oh, you don't see that? You don't have the empathy on the black culture. You don't have the answers for how to deal with the inner city. Guess what? You're a racist. And that's why you don't care about black inner cities. And that's why you continue to alienate and do all these things. That's why you don't go to the black communities. That's why you don't campaign there, because you're a racist. And then you have the voters who sit there and go, that's right. And you have black elitists now explaining this and romanticizing this and creating such charming language that adds to it, that supports.
And that's power, right?
When
you have people supporting you on a certain agenda, that's power. So they keep pushing the agenda, manipulating and using people of influence to think a certain way. So
and that's perverted. That's perverted.
And what's sad about it is we dismiss the realities that Shelby Steele talks about, right? Because I've read some of his op-eds and stuff like that when he writes, and a lot of what he writes, he's highlighting the real issues. Why do I say the real issues? Because there's data that's breaking down from culture to the idea to the actual upbringing to the community, rather than just a simple fact on racism, right? So
and
let's
just to highlight that this last point in that interview he had with Tanashi. Tanashi said, we got to deal with this gap between whites and blacks. And here's the constrained vision of Shelby Steele. No, we don't. Why are you focusing on the gap when you should be focusing on your life? Your
Yeah,
life.
and
Live your life.
yeah, and
You know?
you have to realize who's the one manipulating. You have two educated men up there with two different thought process. Who are you going
Very
to
good
listen to,
point.
and who's really the one manipulating? Let's
And
move to
who's
the second.
helping you? And who's
So for this last segment, I mentioned that purposely there, right? Because we have a discussion on racism. We have a discussion on the minorities and the oppression and all that, right? Right now, this is what I'm going to leave us with, right? 7 richest, most powerful ethnic groups in America. Right? And then I'm going to
Here we
tie it
go.
all together, right? Number 7, Russian American. Number 6, Israeli American. Number 5, Australian American. Number 4, Filipino American. Number 3, Taiwanese American. Number 2, Jewish American. And number 1, Indian American.
Wow.
My point is this. Why is Indian American number 1? Check this out. We know that the Indian Americans are among the top educated ethnic groups in the United States, but they're also one of the richest ethnic groups, likely because of that as well, right? Median households income in 2015 was $101,390, 6-figure medium income. That's why Indian Americans are ranked first on our list of the richest, most powerful ethnic groups in America. So you have 2 educated people up there, Shelby Steele, Tanish Coates, express the realities of America that exist in many different formats, cultures, and even subgroups. But one chooses to tell you that the worries and the brokenness or why you're not where you're at is because of the brokenness of America. The other one tells you,
Great
yeah,
point.
of course, there's brokenness in America, but you are a living proof, Tanish Coates. You got an education, you're making money, you're living you're having a great living, right? You're
Yeah.
living a great life, right?
Great
But
point.
me, what is he expressing? Should be Shelby Steele is saying, look, I understand the realities you're facing, but what kind of help and encouragement are you doing by continuing to pull that to the present time, which that's not the reality, right? So again, that's an encouragement. That's the top groups. We don't talk about education. We don't talk about culture. These are the things that can change the trajectory of a group and have us stop talking about racism. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, hope that was helpful. Macho, thank you for breaking down some all of those videos as well, man, because I think you did a great job bringing those in.
I think
And yeah,
tomorrow we're gonna have a special episode tomorrow, and we're gonna open up. I think we should open up for Q&A afterwards. Like, just answer people's questions, fly them in throughout the show, and then let's answer some of those questions along the way. And we're gonna
Cool.
explain tomorrow why we're gonna open it up for Q&A going into that. So thanks for joining us this
Yes.
Tuesday evening. Until tomorrow, we'll see you again. And cheers.
Cheers.
Great show. Great show.